EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Martich here with your outlook for December 23rd, 2020. For your Wednesday, expecting sunny to partly cloudy skies. We're actually going to start off sunny in the morning because we have high pressure over top of the region this morning, and that will be shifting off to the east, and as it does so, we become partly cloudy this afternoon, and then mostly cloudy overnight. We'll have the clouds increasing ahead of this very impactful cold front that's going to be making its way through the region on Christmas Eve. Now, most of the front itself is going to come through late overnight and actually technically early Christmas morning, but it's going to be pre-dawn hours before when it does that. The front's impacts, though, will be felt far ahead of that. So we're, again, expecting an increase in clouds overnight, and we will start off cloudy here on Thursday, on Christmas Eve. I do think you have the opportunity for some showers to work into our western zones here in during the morning hours here on Thursday, but for the rest of us, it'll be afternoon and evening, and then it gets especially heavy when we get in the evening and part of the overnight before this front moves through. And you can see that here coming in later in the day. For, again, far eastern areas, you won't really see much of anything at all until we get later in the event here. And this is going to push a squall line of very heavy rain, some very high wind gusts, and then this could even be some thunder or lightning with it. A convective-like line that's going to move through the region, and that's going to come in kind of like late evening through at least maybe the middle of the night, middle 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that, from west to east. So this is going to be hauling, and the low-level jet is going to be aligning itself with this front. So there's a lot of things going for it for this to be a very high-impact cold front, not your normal frontal passage. So on the Facebook page yesterday and Twitter, I posted some very strong wording. I still hold to that. At the time this video is recorded, this is more than 12 hours later. Nothing has really changed here. Okay, so we have a very strong deep trough coming in here that's going to be aiding the cold air in behind it, and this will move offshore very late on Thursday night. So by the time we get to Friday morning, Christmas morning, it should be dry across our entire region, but the cold air will be rushing in, and the temperatures will be rapidly decreasing, rapidly dropping throughout the day here on Christmas Day. So let's get over the NAM high-res future simulated radar. I'm going to start this off here at noon, so you can see some of the showers have already worked in their way into central PA counties, and then further east you're not seeing anything. And as you go through the course of the afternoon and get to the evening, you have some showers working their way eastward into at least Pennsylvania. This is going to be in toward evening here by the time it gets into those areas. But then you can see some heavier rain moving ahead of the front, which is still back here. Some heavy rain over eastern Pennsylvania, parts of New Jersey, Delaware here during the course of the evening. Could be some gusty conditions with this as well, but I really don't think that's going to be the brunt of it. I think we're going to have winds increasing during the evening hours, and we're going to get into that 35 to 45 mile per hour range fairly consistently, with some isolated higher gusts than that. But I think it's really with this squall line that we're expecting behind it. There's a squall line that's going to follow with ahead of the front, which is going to be up in here. Right here, you can see where the squall line is, kind of like this, and it's heading in this general direction. So as it does so, along that line, there's going to be some convective gusts in there that are going to be in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range, and even some locally higher than that. So this squall line looks like it's going to mean business as it moves eastward, even though it doesn't look like it's a congealed line. It's kind of a broken line segment, but it doesn't have to be congealed in order to produce, because it's aligned with the low-level jet very strongly, and that's going to move off to the north and east and out of our region. Again, by the time we get to, this is looking at 7 o'clock in the morning on Christmas morning, and you might have a few leftover showers here in far eastern areas, but everywhere else you're dry. Here's the look at the wind here. Now, this is starting off mid-afternoon. It's already indicating some decently high gusts here, and I won't pay attention. Don't pay attention to the amounts here so much as the placement of where those gusts are. The whole idea here is going to increase from mid-afternoon onward, probably 15 to 25 earlier in the day. Then we increase to that 25 to 35 range, maybe late afternoon or so. The problem is there's going to be a little bit of a temperature inversion, at least early on. This can prevent some of the mixing down to the surface. So you have very strong winds when you go up to the 925 millibar level, which is about 2,400 feet above the ground, okay? So at that level, the winds are screaming about 80 knots. It's really strong winds. They're not able to mix down to the surface because there's a little bit of a temperature inversion where instead of temperatures going down with as you go up in altitude, it's actually going up temporarily and then down. So that little bit of little warm wedge aloft is preventing some of the mixing down to the surface, at least initially. I do think that is going to be broken, though, with time. And as these winds increase during the evening here, when we get in this 35 to 45 mile per hour range, which I'm expecting during the evening hours, with that first batch of heavy precip, we're going to start increasing from that point. And I do think it mixes down to the surface at that point, too. And then when the squall line moves through, then you have your potential for some gusts that are going to get in here in the 50 to 60 range, maybe even slightly higher than that in a few spots with some peak gusts, maybe 61, 62. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all, especially as we get closer to the New Jersey coast here. I think your highest potential is going to be there because its low-level jet is strengthening as it's moving eastward. So everything is pointing toward that direction of everything I put in the post on the Facebook page and Twitter, as far as the heavy rains, where we can get 1 to 1.5 inches of rain over most areas, and over 2 inches in the Poconos and some of the higher elevations in central Pennsylvania. I think you can get a little over 2 inches in those areas. So the heavy rain part of it's still there, in combination with any snow melt you have. If you still have snow on the ground now. I'm sitting here this evening doing this video, and it's 39 degrees outside, and I'm loving it. The more snow melt we can get before this comes in, the better. You don't want to combine heavy rain with rapid snow melt at the same time. That's not a good thing. Okay, so that leads to the flooding concern. So that was concern number one. Concern number two are these winds, and the way I outlined them here in this video are the same way it looked 12 hours ago. There's nothing that has really changed. If anything, you have more agreement for that windy go at it here. Now, some of the National Weather Service offices are banking on that inversion holding a little bit longer, and if that's the case, that mixing down to the surface will not be as strong, but I wouldn't bank on that. I would not bank on that happening. That's a low chance of that happening, and I think the higher wind gusts are going to work out, and you'll see that across our regions. It'll be very windy on Thursday evening, and especially during the overnight when that squall line comes through. So the third thing here is going to be not snow. Here's the amount of snow in this total system. There's not any to speak of. Maybe a dusting out here in the far northwestern portions of our coverage area out by Williamsport or thereabouts. Somewhere in that vicinity, you might get a quick dusting at the end. If there's somewhere that happens to see accumulating snow at the very tail end, it's going to be here. And there was some speculation about that early in the week. Not going to happen. Here is that flash freeze. This is the third part of it. Now you can see temperatures well ahead of it here, well into the 50s, mid-upper 50s. And you can see this line coming through where this is where the temperature drop is. As soon as the squall line comes through, the temperatures plummet rather quickly. And you can see that here, and we go from 50s down to 30s and then below freezing in a matter of 4 or 5 hours. Okay, so that's very quick to see that kind of temperature drop. And no, everything is not going to dry up in time before the cold hits. So you're going to have some everything that has any standing water, anything that is wet is going to freeze, and that's going to happen rather quickly. So you don't see that kind of a drop in temperatures by about 25-30 degrees in just 4 or 5 hours typically, but this is one of those cases where it will. So you see that temperature drop here. It goes up rather quickly west to east as soon as that front moves through, and you get temperatures dropping further during the day on Christmas Day. Now, the good thing here for Christmas Day, you just have a few flurries, variable clouds, a few flurries possible. Following temperatures are going to be cold, and the same thing here for the day on Saturday. We're expecting mostly sunny skies, but very cold temperatures. Many of us stuck in the 20s for highs, and then moderating a little bit back in the middle 30s or thereabout here on Sunday. But we're going to be still mostly sunny expected on Sunday. Now, beyond that, we have another system coming at us, and this is being modeled very differently depending on what model you look at. So we have a few rain snow showers in the forecast for after the afternoon on Monday and again Monday night. This is not a real big deal. It doesn't look like right now. This is actually one of our storm signals. There's a few models that are showing a little bit more snow with this. We're going to keep a close eye on this just to see what it does. But I would expect that it was going to be mostly in the interior areas that would see snow more so than southeastern areas if it were to occur, but we'll keep a close eye on that. That's going to be the next thing we focus on for early next week, Monday into Tuesday. I'm EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Marchers. That is your outlook for December 23rd, 2020. Have a great Wednesday.